Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abby.
That's me.
That's you.
And you.
Sup, dogs? Sometimes people call their homies their dogs, and
That's
you can
true.
even buy a dog. Not your homie, but like a real dog. And recently, I bought a dog.
That was delightful. I told Justin, let's let Marcus intro this
And see how it goes.
Yeah.
Marcus recently, they just purchased a son
A son.
named Raz.
Razzie boy.
It's their
Razzie
first
boy.
child. He's a 4-legged furry animal.
Oh, he's so friggin' cute.
He is
You can find
adorable.
him on Instagram.
Yeah,
It's
rolling with Raz.
rolling
Give
with
him a
Raz.
Did you
Follow.
really give him his own Instagram?
Absolutely.
Rolling with Raz.
There-
He has more followers than I do.
I believe that.
Is that real now?
Well, I might have made that up, but pretty close.
Pretty close.
He will.
Wait, before we jump in, we have Marcus and Bree here, and they're here because we are going to consistently have them on the show to actually talk through what it practically looks like to learn your own triggers, to work through issues, and how to walk things out well, because we're all humans. We're all having
We are.
emotions. We're all having pain get brought up in unlikely circumstances, in random moments when you don't expect it. And most people, because they haven't learned about how emotions work, get really caught off guard when the pain shows up, get really confused, blame it on the wrong things,
Yeah.
and feel powerless to actually own their life.
Or even think they're going insane.
Yes.
Like, why is this causing me so many problems right now? It makes no sense. And we easily can beat up on ourselves
Yes.
and thrash ourselves with shame and judgment if we don't understand the concepts that we're going to dive into with Marcus and Bree's world right here.
Yeah, so we're going to have them share. But actually, before we did that, I just wanted to say one thing.
Oh, go ahead. Say how handsome I am.
That's not what I was going to say, but you're going to laugh when I say what it was.
What were you going to
I
say?
just wanted to give a special shout out to you on the podcast because
To me?
yeah, because I've
Oh.
been so sick this last year and a half,
Hmm.
and we've done the podcast for the last year and a half, and that means all of the work has been on your shoulders. And it's actually quite a bit of work to edit all of it together, get all of the blurbs and pictures and posts and everything that you make happen so that everybody can listen to it. And you spend a lot of energy while you also have to pick up all the other slack for this, all the slack in our jobs, all of the slack at home, cooking, cleaning. You pretty much are taking care of everything in life right now. And I just wanted to thank you publicly and say that I think it's really amazing, and that anybody who's thankful for this podcast should be especially thankful to you, because podcasts are a lot of work.
I thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
There's this part of my heart that wanted to turn around and be like, yeah, but these are all the things that you do as well. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to let myself receive this.
Yeah.
So thank you for validating me and saying that. I really do appreciate that. That
You're
caught me off
welcome.
guard.
Yeah. If you have listened to this podcast at all during this last year and a half, and you are in any way grateful, Justin has an audiobook coming out, and he is freaking amazing. We shared it with Marcus and Bree last night. We shared some pieces, and we were all laughing and being sucked into the story. What did you guys think?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, it's a story where Justin's like doing different voices, different characters. And I honestly, 30 seconds in, forgot that I was listening to Justin and just felt like I was wrapped up in this wild story and adventure.
Yes.
So I want to hear more. I want to hear him do more crazy voices. I can't wait until the whole thing comes out.
I was literally telling him, it feels kind of like a Pixar movie in my head.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
is probably what a good story is. Where you're like
Yes.
watching it play out in your mind as someone's reading it to
Yes.
you.
Absolutely. And it's fun. It's funny for adults. Like, it has a good sense of humor and it has deep heart lessons, but then children love it. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning it is because it's coming out. And if you guys buy it or rate review it, the audiobook, it actually promotes it, the more ratings, the more not subscriptions, the more ratings it has.
Yeah, actually gets it out there. It won't be out until probably around June or July, somewhere in there is when it'll.
I'm just letting them know it's coming.
Be out June,
Be
July
excited.
2020.
We'll
But
give you the info.
I'm just, with all this affirmation I just got randomly hit with that I had no idea.
I know you were out in the other room.
I want to ask one question. Are you divorcing me? Like, is this buttering me up?
What is it set up for?
We're
is
here to talk
happening?
to you about something important today.
Am I in trouble?
Abby's done.
Does someone need money?
No, you've had to pitch in a lot, and I just feel incredibly thankful. So
Thank you for that.
you're working hard for us, babe.
So diving into this conversation today, I'll let myself marinate on all that later.
Thank
all
you.
of you for all those kind words. We're going to talk about, so when Marcus and Bree have brought up the issue of their recent purchase of their new child, Raz, what kind of dog is it, first off?
He is a mini golden doodle.
Yeah,
Aw.
I once had a golden doodel.
Ours lasted
For 2
longer
weeks.
than Justin's golden doodle.
Man, I was really excited about that dog than not. But
Yep.
Goodbye, Hugo. But so you guys got Raz, and like when we go and dive into your guys' story about Raz from a 30,000 foot view, it'd be really easy to be like, this is ridiculous, the emotions you guys are having about your dog.
Oh,
It's
it
also
felt ridiculous.
from my point of view.
Yeah.
So you guys, while you were in it, were like, this feels ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Listen, here's what happened. We thought we're going to get this cute little puppy. It's going to enrich our lives. We're going to snuggle with it.
Right.
We're going to feel so loved by this dog. We did not know that having a puppy can basically ruin your life at first. We didn't know. We weren't ready. We didn't know that this dog was going to pee all over everything, pee on our floor cushions, on our pillows, on our bed, destroy our furniture.
Listen, the real kicker for me was I did not know having a puppy was going to push all my fears of having kids. Because the
Absolutely.
puppy is not a child.
Yeah.
Right.
But it did.
It's there.
Yeah. And I would like to say, for the record, me and Marcus both have a lot of fears around becoming parents.
Right.
And so we didn't really see a dog as becoming parents
No.
until we got one. Then we
like,
realized this actually pushes at all of the fears we have where our lives will be over when we have children. So we've had a lot of like intense high stakes emotions that feel ridiculous that they're about this adorable like 12-pound little dog.
Yes.
But you know, it's real and it is what it is.
Here's what I've seen. I've seen lots of people judge their emotions. And when you judge them, you try to compartmentalize them. You shove them
Yeah.
down. You tell them they're stupid. You shouldn't be this big. Instead of their emotions helping them investigate what's actually going on underneath the surface. If you're having level 5 emotions about something that isn't a level 5, it doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you're a drama queen. It doesn't mean you're illogical. It means you've tapped into a pain bucket from something else. If it doesn't make sense that you're having pain about what you're looking at, it's because you're having pain about something that's much deeper from a different moment. And so instead of just shoving it down
Or being like, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Instead
Yeah.
of doing that, if you will embrace your emotions and not embrace them as truth, you didn't embrace like, we can't handle dogs.
Yeah.
Well, not overall. But there were some moments.
There were some
where I
moments.
thought, this is the end.
Wait, we're going to have you share that story. But as a real quick blurb, we made a project called the Compassion Project, which is literally helping people learn how to not judge what's going on, but figure out what the root is and get love to that place so that you can get healing and wholeness. You can get it at stumblconsulting.com. Why don't you jump into your story?
That was a great
Intro.
to our life as dog parents.
Yes.
Yes.
And the trigger started even before we had the dog at home.
Yeah, I really do think that this whole experience has felt like one of those times where it's like, oh, I'm blindsided by triggers because I just never imagined that having this cuddly little puppy would make me feel so crazy. But really it has.
Have you become enraged at all in this process, as a side note?
Oh, absolutely. We
Whoa.
both have.
Have you? I definitely have.
I've had my moments. Yeah, I think we both have had our moments
It
where we're
has
at our
been-
wits' end.
I have felt the most shocked, both the most aware of being like my dad and the most compassion for my dad. Like, oh my gosh, I think I might end up like him.
Yeah.
And you're like, shit, who knew?
It is what it is. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just gonna give like a little backstory here.
Great.
So basically, I have been obsessed with dogs all my life. I love them. I grew up with dogs. I always knew I wanted a dog. And this last year and a half or so, I feel like this dream has been on my heart that the Millers will be dog owners. And Marcus, it took him a little longer to get there, but I've been obsessively looking into dogs for the last few years. And when I say obsessed, I mean my whole Instagram is full of dogs. My search history on my computer is breeder, just everything to do with dogs. Yeah, basically. So for a year, I obsessively looked into dogs to figure out.
Let me add some more things.
Oh.
Basically, every night were dreams about dogs. She'd wake up, let me tell you this dream I had. There was a puppy, its name was this, we did this.
Yeah.
It was every
Obsessed.
night was puppy dreams. At bedtime, we pray together. She's like, we should pray for our dog. I'm like, we don't have a dog.
Yeah.
What is happening?
That is true. Probably every other night for a year before we got this dog.
That's
we always like to pray
hysterical.
as we go to bed together.
Cute.
Just a cute thing we do every night.
Love it.
Every other night I would be like, Marcus, I just think that we should pray for our future dog. Let's pray that he has the best fluff in the world. Let's pray that his personality is sweet and cuddly. Let's pray that we pick the right dog. So
That's
I just
funny.
had this very
What that
high
means is
level of investment and
expectations.
expectations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Expectations that I'm going to find the perfect
What
dog.
you just said is it's high stakes.
Absolutely.
Because when you dream about something that much and that intense, your emotions are going to be that big about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had
Yeah.
level 10 of 10 emotions about this dog.
Absolutely.
So the day comes this last January when we finally find a litter and we pick a puppy and we're like, this is the dog of our dreams. This dog will fill every hole in our life and we'll be happy. And I really felt that way at first. We were
did not
so
feel that way.
excited. You didn't?
Do you think there was maybe a little fantasy involved?
Absolutely.
in
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Like,
there was
this is
fantasy.
the
This
thing that
dog will
heal
fix all
me.
my pain. I'll never be alone again. I'll have this fluffy little friend to comfort me.
Yes.
Definitely my emotions were too high about the dog. I can see that clearly.
I would say Justin also had experienced that at once.
I had so many of those
He's been
similar
there.
emotions of that's what helped me even feel what I realized was the need for a dog was a need for comfort that I didn't know how to get met in
Yes.
a season that was really painful for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the dog got sold 2 weeks later because
Yeah.
I got a solution in my soul, but around that time started getting it before I actually
You
got
got
the dog.
comfort.
I started getting comfort to my heart for the season. And then once I had the dog, I'm like, this is more work than it's worth.
And honestly, a puppy is not comforting. It's the opposite.
No.
Nope.
It takes from you.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Especially because you
Just
were
like all
having your
those
nervous
dirty children
breakdown.
out there. Just all needing something from us adults.
Justin.
I'm poking
Yeah.
at the childhood problem.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Okay. So go ahead.
Okay, so we pick this dog and we get to the point where he's going to be ready for us to pick up in 2 weeks. And so this has been a really long process for me and I'm so excited. And then the breeder calls me and she tells me, listen, we just did a last vet check with these puppies and your puppy is healthy and happy, but we found out he has an underbite.
This,
Dun, dun, dun.
this is hysterical.
And now this is probably a level 1 problem.
Yeah.
But in that moment, well, the first thing I did is I got on Google search images and I looked up dogs with underbites.
Which has so many funny
Yeah, if
pictures.
anyone
Which
needs to
maybe
laugh, you should
Justin-
look that up.
For this podcast, should get a photo of a dog with an
Oh,
underbite.
it should.
Because we literally were sending photos of them
Oh, they
what
were
if it's
so
like
funny.
this? And they're like these
Yeah.
dogs where they look like monsters.
No, I thought they were hysterical.
Hysterical
Monsters.
monsters.
Like these jagged teeth sticking out the front of their face with drool coming down the sides. So these hideous dogs. And so in my head, I'm like, the worst has happened. My perfect little dog who was going to meet every one of my needs now is going to be this hideous monster. And I
A lot
don't
of
even
people
know.
feel that when they get married. I thought you were going to meet all of my needs. You're a hideous monster.
Yeah, I felt that too, Abby.
Yep. So I find out this dog is going to be a monster. And basically, I had like a level 10 emotional reaction to it, a huge meltdown. And what made this obvious that it's a trigger is that everybody else in my life was laughing about the fact that my perfect little dog is going to have an underbite. And I'm having a full-scale meltdown. And my emotions are like, this isn't fair. I did all of this research. Other people, they just go to the pound and they buy a dog. I didn't do this. I researched for a year. I didn't just research. I prayed for this dog. I told God to make this dog perfect. And he couldn't even take care of this one thing for me. And I realized like I actually had these intense emotions of feeling like I tried to do everything and I'm still not going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. Which if I think it's easy for me in the middle of that meltdown to feel shame and to feel like this is absurd.
Right.
People have real problems in the world.
Totally.
This is about a little puppy maybe having an issue with their face.
A cosmetic problem.
This
Maybe
feels
having an issue with her
so
face.
stupid that I want to shove all these emotions down and just act like I'm fine. But the thing is, if you do that, I wasn't actually going to be able to like get to the
through
pain
it.
behind it.
Yeah. And there's a very real pain under that that
Yes.
actually does matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I was feeling that very real pain in the
Yes.
moment. And I realized that like I was trying to process with motion
With Moshi.
with
Well, we
with
don't know
Marcus.
Moshi, so it didn't go very well.
Sorry, babe. I just forgot his name for a second there. I was trying to process with
Marriage.
Marcus because we had to make this decision. Are we going to get this puppy or not?
Right.
And ultimately we decided to get the puppy. But in the moment, I was feeling these high levels of emotions where I felt like I feel mad at God right now. And that felt crazy to me. I feel mad
Right.
at God because a dog's going to have an underbite. But I had to actually like get beyond that and explore it. Like I feel
Wait,
mad.
let me just stop
Yeah.
this really quick. And this is what happens. Spouses will be like, well, that's unreasonable. And
Right.
then they
Mm.
cut
Shut it
themselves
down.
out from being able to learn and have intimacy about what's really
Yep.
going on. And same with us. If we invalidate our feelings, we don't have to validate that, oh, I'm having level 10 about the dog underbite. But if you invalidate it, you shortcut your ability to learn and get love to the places that need it.
Yes.
Again, that's why we made the compassion project. But so I'm listening to you and I'm like, I know so many people that either the spouse would be like, that's stupid, or the person would, and they would then end the emotional journey and all of that pain would stay trapped inside of them that had nothing to do with it anyway.
Yes. And I think for me, I grew up like shoving down emotions and feeling like if you're going to have emotions, they need to be about something serious. They need to be
Logical.
Very
justifiable.
clearly,
Yep.
yeah.
Otherwise, they're stupid and you're being emotionally weak. And so I actually grew up feeling like if my emotions aren't about something really big, they're invalid. And I think even like in this process, it took me a little while to figure out that I was being triggered because my gut reaction was just, I'm being stupid. And I'm being stupid. This shouldn't matter. I'm being stupid. This isn't about anything important.
Right.
Like I
So very
should-
shaming.
Yes, very shaming.
Yeah.
And I think
And
it's
you
really
couldn't-
easy to do that.
You couldn't see around it as long as you were shaming it.
Yes. As long as I was shaming it, I was stuck in pain. And so I could tell from the moment the breeder called me with that news, it was like I had a thorn dug into me, and no matter how much I tried to not look at it, I could feel this pain there. And I could feel that I wasn't okay underneath. And I don't know, Marcus, do you want to chime in about your feelings with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had some similar feelings. Not like that. Mine was more, and this is where it connects to kids with me, where I'm like, oh, it's gonna ruin the perfect looking life I'm supposed to have. And so even when we were processing through, because the breeder gave us a option, like, oh, you can wait till the next litter kind of thing. And I had to work through, actually, I might have kids who like aren't perfect. Yeah. Because my family growing up, the goal really was to be perfect.
Be
Like,
perfect, look perfect.
look perfect,
Yeah.
be perfect. It was like very much so like American suburb dream family,
Right.
Christian family, like be perfect, know God, do the right things.
Yep.
Make sure everyone outside, even if it's chaos inside, the outside should look really good.
Right.
And so I think subconsciously under the surface, by doing all the research and finding the right dogs. And we like even like, okay, we just looked at breeders all over the country. This breeder does a special like neurological training, so it's gonna be a smart dog. It was like all the things to create the
really
like
over-invested.
perfect looking scenario.
Right.
And so I had to work through, okay, me in this moment, which is crazy, but it's like, this is not actually like letting go of a perfect dog. It's letting go of my need to have every part of our life look the right way.
Right.
Which is my fear about kids.
Right.
Like, what if this is a funny one, but I'm like, what if I have a kid who doesn't play sports? Because I always played sports. And my wife is like, not like, she does like yoga and stuff, but she's not like sports girl.
Not athletic at all.
And often she'll be like, we could have a son who like can't
like
play
me.
sports. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that never crossed my mind. It just like isn't in there. And so for me, it was letting go of the idea of having it be perfect. And actually you can love something when it's not perfect. Because my fear is I'm not lovable if I'm not perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the concept is if I have a perfect family, then I'm going to be safe.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be loved. Then I'm going to be wanted. Then it will mean that I'm good.
Yeah.
It's basically like,
it'll mean I'll be able to get my needs met. Because if it's good enough, then my needs will get to count. There'll be space for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
And so I was also having crazy feelings, but they were about something
completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you guys both have huge emotions. Then what?
We both have huge emotions.
What do you figure out yours are about?
So it took me a little while to get there. I had to get to the point where I was like, I'm actually going to feel my feelings about this thing instead of trying to shove them down.
Mm-hmm.
So
Step one.
Yeah, step one.
Feel your feelings.
Feel the feelings.
Yep.
So I start feeling just all of the surface level emotions about what this underbite thing brought up. And my surface level emotions are, I feel abandoned. I feel abandoned, like I tried so hard to do everything right and still it didn't work out the way I planned.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried so hard to make sure everything would be taken care of, and God couldn't just take care of this one thing for me. He couldn't just make sure my dog is fully healthy.
Right.
And it even had some of the why me of all the dogs in the litter. Mine is one of the only ones that has this issue, and all the other ones were happy and healthy.
Yep.
And so it's feeling like out of control. I feel abandoned. I feel like nothing's going to work out. I feel alone, and like what I'm doing is not enough.
What did you find out about the why me? Like that feels like it pointed
Hold on.
towards.
That's a great question. But before you do that, if I was working with a client right after we wrote down all of those emotions, abandoned, alone, not going to get my needs met, that's literally then what we do is we say, where were these emotions from your childhood?
In childhood, absolutely. And I think even Marcus in the scenario helped me to connect to that, because my surface level emotions, they felt like they were directed at God, where I felt like I'm mad at God because of this dog's underbite. Yeah. And Marcus, all he had to say was, are you sure that's about God and not about your childhood? That for me was the lights on moment of like, oh, I think I'm triggered right now. I think I have some underlying feelings here.
Yes.
And from there, I was able to actually go on that step that Abby said, which is, where did I feel these feelings before? Where has this shown up in my life? And
before you jump into that, I'm going to say one more thing. What you just said is so important, because I will say like 80% of the time, and I'm very self-aware that I'm triggered, I always originally think it's about the thing I'm facing.
Oh, for sure.
And so you guys are really emotionally intelligent. You have been seen and working with counts, like getting help for years. And you're both really healthy, well-adjusted people. And still, you don't notice triggers right away. So I'm trying to help our listeners connect that you're going to think your emotions are really about what you think they're about. And because this is what I do with my clients all the time. I will have to wrestle and argue with them until we finally hone it in. And then they're like, oh my gosh, you're right. But so if you feel that, I just want you to be aware of it. It takes time to learn your triggers. It takes time to not blame the circumstances that you're looking at for what it is, to be able to actually go on the journey.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think almost every single time I have a trigger come up, it starts with me blaming the situation. And I often like to do, when I have a trigger, I like to do what I call my shitty first draft, which is where I write down, just to get them out there, I write down all of my surface level crazy feelings about the situation. And then once I have it out there on paper, then I could be like, okay, what's underneath that? Like, what are the real feelings? Where does this show up in childhood? Because I feel like if I don't have a place to get all the crazy first feelings out, then I can't get past it to figure out what it's actually about.
It's very good.
Yeah.
So what did you find when after
So what did I find? What I found was that actually it went back to a lot of deep triggers or deep pain points that I have come up in a lot of life, which is that I think as a kid, I just felt really alone in a lot of areas. And if I didn't take care of myself, I wasn't going to get taken care of.
Yeah.
So
Explain why.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I have still an older sister, and she went through a phase where it was just like all of her pain came out. She rebelled really hardcore. She was like living on the streets and on drugs and in and out of juvie. And my family life was chaos for a lot of years when I was a kid. And so I grew up in like a great middle class Christian home. My parents loved me. And even in the midst of all that chaos, like my needs still got taken care of. You know, like there's always food on the table.
Right.
I went to a good school. I knew I was going to be taken care of. But there were a lot of years where my parents were so wrapped up in trying to help my sister, trying to help her stay alive, trying to take care of her in this like really crazy period, that my desires and my wants and my, just like my emotional needs.
You probably were a little neglected.
Yeah. My emotional needs didn't get met.
Yeah.
And so as a kid, I got
Obviously,
really independent.
You were fed and you were like, they weren't
100%
bad parents.
Yeah, for sure. They were trying to love me in the ways they could.
A lot of all of the attention was on your sister.
Yeah, definitely. And so I even remember as a kid, like just asking my mom, like, hey, can we go to the mall together and hang out? And I remember my mom being
so
like,
cute that you wanted to hang out with your mom.
Hang out with my mom.
Aww.
And I remember her being like, Brianna, your sister's on the streets. We're looking for her. I can't take you to the mall right now. And as a kid learning, like, even if my mom's heart was to meet with me, I learned like, oh, it was bad that I had this want. I shouldn't. It was stupid that I asked for this thing. I should have known that my sister's needs were bigger or more important.
Right.
And so I, as a kid, just started internalizing things and feeling like I'll just take care of myself. I won't ask my parents for anything because they have bigger things on their plate.
Right.
And so often in life, I'll have this like pain come up of, I have to take care of myself and I can't count on anyone else to take care of me. And I think that in this whole search of trying to find the perfect dog, that maybe just a little bit, I was playing out this pain of my childhood of I'm going to research so much and then I'm going to ask God just to take care of this one little thing. Just make sure he's healthy and has no problems. And when it didn't happen, it hit this childhood pain of my wants don't matter. Like the desires of my heart, they're not important.
Right.
My needs will be taken care of. God's not going to let me starve. But if I want this dog, he doesn't care.
Totally.
And so it actually, like, I had to get past the surface level emotions and realize, like, actually there was a little girl who spent so many years alone and so many years like invalidating my wants and my desires and trying to be independent. And actually, I still have a lot of pain about that. I still feel really alone. I still feel really abandoned.
And also, I think for you as a kid, like often we work in extremes in family systems. So in response to her sister, Brie became the really good kid.
Perfect. I'll do everything perfect.
I think for her, similar to the scenario, it was like, I'll do all the things. I'll be really good. I'll do my homework on my own. I can do enough.
I'll be perfect.
I won't need a lot from you.
Oh, yeah.
In hopes that you can, like, I'll show up 90% in hopes that you can show up 10%.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, as a kid, I'll create the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
And then everything will be okay. As an adult, if I can just get the perfect dog, and then everything will be okay.
I'll do all the right things.
Like I'll
in
do
hopes that
90%.
maybe you can show up a little bit.
Yep.
That makes so much sense.
Absolutely.
So then, and this is what happens with my clients when we're in sessions, then it's like the aha of like, oh, of course you're sad about this one thing because you did the exact same thing you did as a kid. You tried to be really, really good. You tried to be good enough for it to work out well, and then it still felt like it didn't work out, and it felt and you had so much pain that you never got to grieve as a kid, because especially in a situation like that, you feel guilty.
For sure.
When your mom's like, your sister's on the street homeless, you're like, oh, I feel bad that I should have no needs. I should be. And you can't be like, oh, I'm sad that mom and dad are consumed by this thing. Because you feel like, I guess they should be consumed, but I guess I am fine. I should be fine on my own. I should be. I just see that a lot of times with the good kid in a family.
Yeah, that's so true.
They don't get to grieve what they've lost because they can see like, well, yeah, it is a crazy scenario.
Yeah, I think that feels true. And so even in the moment of this trigger that might not be about something big, what it felt emotionally to me was that it was proving true the story of my whole childhood.
Right.
It's proving true that my needs really don't matter. It's proving true that if I want something that's not important, that it's not going to be taken care of because it's not a big deal. And so I'm not just having pain about this situation. I'm having all of the pain of childhood that I never processed coming up in that moment. And
then projecting it into the future, which is, I guess this is going to be true.
Yeah.
Is the feeling.
One of the, going back to the one question that I kind of poked at before, because I don't know if I caught something there or not, but when you describe the idea of every other dog was great, but of course my dog.
The why me?
The why me? Why me? And I'm like, I wonder what that felt like. I wonder if there was a world where for little Brie where she felt like, why me? Everyone else has ...
I do think as a little kid, I mean, I couldn't see the pain in any other family. I could only see the pain in mine. And so, yes, I 100% felt like all my other friends are happy and they have normal families. Why is mine the one falling apart? Why am I the one kid of my class who has this crazy stuff going on at home? And so I think even as a kid, it created this feeling of isolation where I'm the only one who has this intense pain. Why did it happen to me? And why am I so alone in it?
Right.
And I think that will come, it did come up with this whole dog adopting process, the feelings of why am I the only one
that got a dog with an underbite.
Yeah, of this litter that has this issue. Why did I make this choice? Why did God let this happen to me?
Right. And that's not even the only issue the dog had, because then it goes on and we find out what.
And the second issue was worse.
Well, how did you work through that?
Can I conclude this real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for everyone out there waiting on bated breath, did we get this dog or not? We got the dog.
Yes.
His name is Raz. We love him. Does he have an underbite? Yes.
But can you tell? No, praise God.
He's cute. It didn't end up being a big deal, but he has not been the perfect dog that we thought in our heads. Yes.
But how did you work through after you recognize this is about my childhood? Then what?
Oh, then what?
Like, were you like, oh, I need to like validate that little girl?
Oh, yeah,
or
absolutely.
I need to like have compassion for her, or
I think what it looks like for me
really feels.
Yeah, I had huge emotions about the dog. Marcus was the one who like led me in the maybe you're being triggered, and then I honestly just had to take like a half an hour and process through what the real feelings were, and I had to like cry out the fact that I felt really alone as a kid and I felt like my needs didn't matter. And for me, that looked like a lot of being compassionate towards myself, which for me is self-talk. Like, oh, Brianna, I'm so sorry that you felt alone. I'm so sorry that it felt like your needs were important, that it felt like if you didn't have a huge problem, it wasn't worth being looked at. And I think even just language like that helps me to connect to the pain I have in my heart and helps me to actually grieve it and feel it rather than shoving it down. And so it looked a lot like me taking time to get compassion there and identifying what the actual problem was. And then after I had gone gone through the process of feeling my feelings about it, then it was letting Marcus in and being like, oh, this is what I'm actually feeling, so that I could get love and understanding from another person there.
That's such good keys.
Yeah, one of the key words that you did say there was grief too.
Yeah.
And there we look now and we go, you don't need to grieve this dog's got an underbite. But we go, no, there's actually an appropriate time in your history where that child had grief and needed to feel someone grieve with her and didn't ever have the permission in those moments to do it. And so a lot of times people will be like, well, why would I cry about that now? It happened way back then. Because that kid's still trapped in that moment and actually getting the grief out, feeling that emotion and finally getting to cry. And again, get met with the compassion and love, all of a sudden that part of their soul goes, all right, I got what I needed. Yeah.
And I think a big thing that's been helpful to me in this process is learning that triggers really are emotional flashbacks, because then anytime I have an illogical amount of pain come up, I can be like, oh, there must still be pain that I have from the past, because otherwise I wouldn't feel this. I must be in an emotional flashback, and maybe I thought I dealt with my pain, but there must be more there, because otherwise I wouldn't have this huge reaction right now. And so that actually helps me to give myself permission to explore those feelings and to make space for them and to be okay with the fact that I still have emotions there.
Sometimes I think of it like the trigger is I'm an adult, and it's if food is like love, it's like, I need food. Like we feel like I'm so hungry, I need food. But really there's a starving kid who needs food. And I can, as an adult, try to like shove my face, but it's not going to feed the real place that is really hungry. And that's the kid. So we get to take the love and apply it to the place of the
love is
that's
the food
actually hungry. Yeah.
Yeah. So you give the love to the kid, and then the starvation feeling goes away.
Otherwise, I can eat all day long as an adult,
and it never
but it's still
fixes
hungry.
it. That's very good.
Yeah, that's good.
If people need to learn what kind of words to use for self-compassion, or like how to do that, would you guys have any like resources you'd recommend?
I can't think of anything.
Good. All right. Okay, so next in the story.
The Compassion Project, Abby and Justin stumble.
Did you want to include what you worked through?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a process of working through my need for things to be perfect.
Yeah.
Which really is the relationship I have with myself, which is the relationship I have with my parents growing up.
Right.
Our family system is the goal is to be perfect. Even sometimes I'll talk to my parents, they're like, yeah, but the goal is to be fine. I'm like, well, I don't know if it is. Maybe it's to actually like feel your feelings.
Be present.
But it's so the system I grew up in that, and I think it was a little bit almost jarring for me to realize, oh, this is deeply in me because I want my dog to be perfect, which is like an inanimate object that doesn't really matter. And
He's
so,
not an object, Marcus.
Okay. He's a being. Whatever. And so I had to work through, it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not have the perfect family. It's okay if I have a kid who doesn't play sports. Like I was working through my emotions around letting go of the control of life looking a certain way so that you get to be loved.
What did you find out even with how Raz played a role in your marriage and what you felt like he may or may not be in relationship to each other?
Oh man.
This one's so funny. So it's literally like the dog is playing out all of our fears of reproducing our family systems.
Yeah.
And so my fear is that she will choose the dog over me.
Oh.
Which is like so funny.
Yeah.
Like, why does this matter? So there'll be times where I'll have like feelings like, I'm mad at the dog because he bit me, which is like what dogs do. And it's normal to have feelings. And she'll be like, no, like, it's fine. Everything's good. And I'm like, no, I'm actually mad at the dog. Stop defending him.
Why are you choosing the dog over me?
For me,
my pain matters too.
It's a couple things. One, it feels like my family where the parents are on opposite teams defending the kid. And so I feel the fear of I'm going to be alone. We're going to have a kid. And I'm going to be alone in marriage because it's going to be Bree and the kids. And then I'm on the opposite team.
Right. That makes sense.
And what about even, there's a relational moment with your dad or a history in this area, which is very interesting.
I never wanted a dog ever because my dog growing up, I thought was the worst. I thought because if my dad listens to this, he'll be furious because he loved that dog.
He loved that dog.
And I was like, so I was really young when we got our first dog, and it was a big dog, and it had some personality issues and was vicious and like would bite me and growl at me, and I was afraid to go into my parents' room because it was like he was the protector of my dad, and I get that it met a lot of my dad's needs, but I felt like you choose that dog over me because I'm actually a really scared kid. I'm really scared. Like, I'm actually afraid of that dog. Like, it'll attack me.
Yeah.
And my dad was in love with it.
Totally.
And so there is a dynamic of it feels like you're going to choose that dog over me, even though I have very real feelings.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what did it feel like for you?
Yeah. I honestly felt shocked about how many emotions about parenting me and Marcus had come up once we started parenting this dog together. And I know that people always say like, oh yeah, get a dog as a practice child before you have real kids. I did not expect it would be really like a practice child for us, but it's felt like it because it's brought out so many dynamics in the way that we parent differently and in the fears that we have about parenting with our kids. And so for me, I think the big one is actually almost exactly the same as Marcus's fear. I grew up in a family where my dad felt checked out. Like, he was there in person, but he would come home from work and then he would just sit downstairs and watch TV. And so my life growing up always felt like mom and the kids. Like, the kids are on mom's team. Yep. We're the three who are present. We're the three who are together. Yep. And my dad is kind of his own separate entity.
Island.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we get this dog, and because I work from home, I was with him 24/7 when we first got him. Yeah. So it was me and Raz constantly together, and Marcus like works in an office, so he was off doing his own thing. And so the first few weeks, Raz really bonded to me.
Right.
Like, he would follow me around the house. He wanted to be with me all the time.
Totally.
And he wasn't really bonding to that extent with Marcus.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't with them all the time.
Yeah, Marcus wasn't with them. So there were logical reasons for it. But I could see like the pain, even just a little pain that Marcus had with like, oh, this dog likes you more than me, or oh, you're really bonded to this dog and I'm not. And I had these like high level fears where I felt like this dog is going to drive a wedge in me and Marcus's relationship. It's going to be
get divorced.
It's going to be me and this dog versus Marcus. Marcus is going to have pain feeling like the dog likes me more than him. Marcus is going to check out and then I'm just going to be stuck with the dog. And I felt all of this fear of like, I want to control and make Marcus bond with the dog.
Right.
I want to force them into a relationship. I want to make everything okay because I'm so scared that I'm going to be alone in marriage if he has any pain, or I'm going to be alone if like our child is more on my team than his, or I'm more bonded in a way he isn't. And I even felt all this fear of, am I overly bonding? Am I bad? Should I not be spending this much time with the dog? Am I getting my emotional needs met? And obviously none of this is really logically about our cute little puppy who we've had for 2 weeks. Logically,
family system.
Yeah,
Which
logically,
even in that, I felt the fear. So it showed up differently both for families, but there's a thing called like, often there's a book and talks about the chosen child. So like often if parents don't know how to bond to each other, or they may be bonded but not like emotionally know how to fully connect, it's really easy to get your needs met
from
in
one
a
of your
bonding
kids.
from one of your kids.
Yeah.
And so I realize I have this deep fear that we're going to end up bonding to our kids and not to each other.
And I
so
actually have the same fear.
Then I was feeling that with Raz, where it's like, you're bonding to him, and if I have feelings, you take his side.
Oh, so you're not gonna bond with me anymore.
Yeah. Or you're gonna end up bonding with the kid enough that it's you and the kid, and then either me alone or me and a different kid, and it's gonna be like different teams.
Right.
A war between us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think even just the first few weeks of having him as a puppy, we had so many fears come up in our relationship because even though I could logically see this isn't forever, this is a phase, this dog needs all my attention for the first few weeks because it's still a baby. Right. I felt this high emotional fear of this is going to destroy our entire relationship. We're going to have nothing. our beautiful married days are over. And I felt the emotions of this will go on forever and it's ruined.
But also because she had those fears, she would end up trying to step in between. Like, if I got frustrated with Raz because he bit me, she'd be like, no, it's fine. Like, don't be mad.
Just trying to fix their relationship.
She'd be like, you hate him. I'm like, no, I don't hate him. I just feel frustrated.
You
hate him.
I did say that. I did accuse Marcus of hating our dog.
You hate him.
It was a bad moment.
Out, and I'm like, we're like, Raz and I are cuddling, and then he bit me, and I was frustrated. And all of a sudden it gets like quiet, and I'm like, it feels so weird in here. And like, are you okay? She's like, you hate that dog. No. And then I'm like pissed, like, no, I don't hate him, but I have real frustrated feelings.
And I should get to feel this way.
Yeah. One of the things that you made mention of is I try to control him.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest pitfalls inside of marriage, where each person on each side in some way, shape, or form is trying to control the other person, all because they're not actually looking at their emotional flashbacks, their triggers. Like, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to save myself from right now? They don't ever look at any of that. So they're just like, no, I'm just trying to love you well by trying to fix this for you and make you do this. It's like, no, you're controlling me. This is your issue. Deal with your issue. And so I really wanted to highlight that for people who are out there so they can go, ooh, I've been told I'm a control freak. I bet that points towards the fact that I've been being triggered. Where am I trying to control people? Where does that mean I'm in a triggered state and I'm trying to deal with some childhood pain?
Well, I just thought about this in our relationship because we had a conversation the other day, and there's this person that I've been like, Justin, I think you need to confront this person. And I've said it several times. And then we were talking the other day about something completely opposite, and I realized, oh, I want you to confront that person because I'm scared if you don't confront them, you'll take it out on me. And so I am trying to get you to do something because of my own fear. Right. And actually, when I was able to share it like that, you could hear it better. Yeah. You're like, oh, okay. You're not just trying to boss me, thinking I can't manage my world.
Yeah.
And but the idea is that we often, when we have fear, try to control, try to avoid that fear from ever manifesting.
Yep, totally.
Instead of just noticing that fear means there's a little kid inside of me that needs their needs to be acknowledged, seen, and met. And I can do that whether or not this happens with the dog.
I would say we've both had control show up. For me specifically, I realized, because I grew up in of him, there was chaos. Control feels like a safety net, and there's just a part of a dog where you don't have control.
No, you don't.
Like, I don't care how many times I sweep our walkway in the backyard, that dog is going to get mulch on it. Totally. And so, because I've had to wrestle with being able to be present in chaos feelings, like in me, like, oh, I can be present even if it feels chaotic, because I really felt like if it's chaotic outside of me, I'm going to have chaos in my internal world, because my family felt chaotic and it always felt like it's outside.
Right.
Like it's this external force making the chaos happen.
Yep.
And so then I have this dog that, like, same with kids, like kids are going to play with toys because they're kids.
Yeah.
And this dog is going to run around the house. It's going to chew things. It's going to play in the backyard because dogs do. And I was having so many emotions. It was really pushing Bree's emotions because I was, not intentionally, but I was like kind of shutting down, walling off.
Right.
Which is replicating her dad, which is, oh, he's going to disconnect and it's going to be me and this dog.
Yes.
And so I had to work through.
This is such a good interplay. This is how triggers interlap. It's
true.
Like the thing, you're scared of him becoming this, and then he's going through his trigger and it looks like he's becoming that.
Yeah. So then she was working through her wanting to control, and I was working through my need to control outside of me.
Right.
So I literally, I was talking to...
So you both use control, but in different ways.
Yes. She's trying to control relationally. I'm trying to control environment.
Yep.
And so I had to sit and I'd be like, okay, the backyard is messy. I'm going to sit and let it be messy and be okay with myself. Because sure, I want things to be nice, and that's fine.
Sure.
But I need to be able to be centered and okay, because this is my battle with internal chaos,
right? Not
actually my battle with my dog.
Yes.
And if I cannot be with my dog because he creates a mess, which is what dogs do, then I will check out.
Totally.
And if I can't do it with him, which is my fear of kids, I'll do the same with my kids. I can't be present because they'll create chaos, because kids create messes because they're kids.
Yeah.
I will end up withdrawing unless I can be okay with myself.
Which is a really big, I think a lot of people withdraw when they feel chaos.
Yeah.
And you just don't notice it because it's not an aggressive trigger. It's not a mean
It
looking
even
trigger.
It looks nice. Mine is like, let me clean the backyard. I'll do the dishes.
Right.
Let's
I'm
pick up all the
busy.
dog's toys every night before bed.
Yes.
Like it looks nice, but it's actually me being deeply triggered.
It's
Right.
true. A triggered Marcus is a very cleanly Marcus with like this
I wish that was
glazed
my
over
issue.
look on his face.
Yes.
He's just like cleaning like a robot.
Well, and so one of the things that we've processed is you actually like telling yourself that you're safe, because really it's that you don't feel safe when there's chaos there, because your family, your environment you grew up in didn't feel safe because of chaos.
I literally was like talking to a friend about it, and they're like, well, why can't you just be okay with chaos? And I was like, I know this sounds insane, but in my head I'm like, you're asking me to be a hoarder house. And I'm like, I know that's not true.
Right.
Not sweeping up the mulch won't make me a hoarder house.
Right.
But my emotions feel that way. And that's because I feel so trapped by the idea of chaos.
Yes. Right. Because you spent your whole childhood believing, I have to get out of this. I have to get out of this. I have to get out
fix
of
the
this
thing so that this will be better.
So the pain will be gone.
Instead of being able to be present in it and getting comfort.
So good.
It's really good.
So good.
Can you tell us my favorite trigger in all of this is when you with the hoodie.
Oh yeah. So in the midst of feeling out of control and chaotic, and this is the first week, mind you, so like the first week really is the worst. I was like at the my life is over, what's happening? And there was a morning he had the first few days they pee a lot, and then it gets better, and then he got a bacterial infection and had diarrhea all night.
Oh my gosh.
So like every hour we were taking
Diarrhea
it out. And the
everywhere.
next morning I woke up, I'm like with my hoodie, and my hoodie's over my head, and we go and we take him out in our little area, and I'm on the floor, and I have my hoodie over my head, and I'm silently crying to myself. Like I'm like tied
You
the
haven't slept.
I've tied the string, so it's like there's not even
Only
a hole
your
in the front. I'm
nose
just
is
in
seen.
here, and the dog is eating my strings on my hoodie, and I'm just sobbing behind to myself behind the like hoodie. I'm like, this is my life now. I'm out of
Picking up
control,
diarrhea.
and everything's horrible. My cushy life is over. This is who I am now.
And Marcus is saying this all out loud, and then I'm sitting there and I start crying because
She
I was
did.
like, you hate our dog.
Because I'm like, this is the worst. Our life is over.
Both of us, when we hit rock bottom, I'm sobbing because I think he hates the dog that I've been praying for the last year.
Right.
He's sobbing because he thinks his entire life is
All of his
chaos.
freedom
and
is
over.
gone.
My will to make everything perfect was gone because I couldn't escape this dog.
Yeah.
There's this reminds me of This Is Us. And there's this moment between a couple. Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't watched the recent season. But this couple has a child that ends up being blind. And the husband says to the wife, like, how does he put it?
I don't actually. It's like he was really sad.
Yeah, he was just like he basically said, I'm just really sad that our son is blind. And she is just so harsh and mean towards him. Disconnect. Okay, great. So you're just going to be this way. You're sad
So
about
you hate
our son.
You don't care about him.
And you watch as they don't point it out, but you watch as this woman is completely triggered about all the places where she feels rejection. Like, when am I going to be rejected? When like, this is a history of me feeling like I'm not enough for other people
Right.
because of my weight or because of who I was or whatever it is. And so there's people who are listening where you guys have had these aggressive fights inside of marriage. It's before now. We're not just talking about the triggers you're about to notice, but there are issues that have been lifelong issues inside of your marriage where you need to begin to look back and go, oh, what did that really have to do? What did that have to do with me? Forever, I've had a problem with my husband who responded this way to our kids or did these things or said these things. Where is it all the way back here where we had these problems that I was really in pain?
Marcus and Bree, do you want to wrap up how you guys worked through that to get on the same? Are you still stuck in those triggers?
I mean, I think we're pretty good at coming back together and understanding this is my pain, that's your pain, and we can be present in both having pain and being on the same team.
So you're like, I can listen to you and understand where you're coming from. You can listen to me and understand where I'm coming from. And we can attune with each other.
Totally. Like I would say I'm still working through that feeling out of control triggers. Like I can feel it consciously. Like I'm aware oh, it's still happening. This new thing happened. This thing happened. So that trigger is still there and I'm working through it. But I feel like we're together on that journey working through it, not I'm on it and you're against me.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, something that's so important is I have all these clients who are always like, I should be over this trigger already. And I'm like, you have years and years of your mind operating one way. It takes a while to change how you think, to change the landscape of your mind, and to grieve and feel the years that you haven't. Totally. And so what I like is the patience, like that you actually just have to have compassion that this isn't a fixed trigger yet.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is, I think a lot of people are probably feeling this because of Corona. There's a real thing where we want to be fixers to make ourselves feel okay. And I feel all of my heightened control chaos buttons pushed because there's this thing outside of me that I can't make stop.
Right.
And it's directly affecting my life.
Yep.
And so all of these other things are pushing it even more because there's this overarching thing that is reminding me you cannot fix it on with like there's nothing.
So you're
you
saying
can do.
Corona is triggering you.
Yes.
Like because I can't change this chaos. I can't make this stop. And so now your trigger bucket is full.
Yes.
So now littler things
are pushing it more.
Yeah. I would say that's true for everybody right now. So like if it's powerlessness or if it's control or if it's fear or if it's loneliness, whatever it is, Corona pushes those triggers and then you notice everything else. Yeah. That's really good. I looked over at Justin to say something, but...
And Justin was yawning.
The big ol' yawn.
It's a lighting in here. So everybody, thanks for joining us with Marcus and Bree. Thank you too for coming in here and sharing your story about Raz. Raz, we're going to make Raz Connected Life famous.
Yeah.
Do it.
He should be.
He's a great dog.
We need to put a picture of Raz up.
I will say this is just so common. Kids trigger adults, parent, like... Everything you're explaining, I bet every parent can agree with. When their spouse corrects their kid and they have a huge reaction. Or when they feel like their spouse is choosing them, it's a huge reaction. So I think this is relatable for everybody. I think it's so encouraging for people, whether you're single or married, to begin to be kind to yourself and curious and investigate when you have feelings, and always go back, because you're always going to say, I think this goes back to this week, or I think this goes back to last year, but always go back as far back as you can get to where those feelings are real from. And if you need help, we have people, Marcus is a consultant, we have people we've trained that can help you trace what's going on in your life back so that you can get healing and love into those pockets.
So remember, if you got touched in any way, shape, or form, or you got anything out of this podcast, rate, review, subscribe, and share. Jump on iTunes.
It really does help get the word out.
Jump on our social media, at Justin Stumball, at Abby Stumball. Tag us in...
at Rolling with Raz.
Also, when Justin says tag, he means tag.
Shut up, Marcus. I'm from Montana.
Tag.
Big. You're it. All right, everybody. Peace out.